Thank you all, the Army War College Foundation, for this absolutely incredible award. And I want to also thank Ruth and her great team for all they have done to support us all. So thank you. It's hard not to have a flooding of memories and introspective thoughts getting ready for this trip. Just putting on the dress that I'm wearing today to make sure I was coordinated with the upholstery on the chairs. It was kind of funny because the minute I put the dress on, I started to get a little bit sleepy, right? Two weeks ago, on the day before the MOA board started, I hopped on a metro and got over to the World War II memorial. My Uncle Bernie was a World War II vet, and he came in on an honor flight, and he is the last World War II vet in our family. It was just a wonderful experience. I, of course, immediately got into my dad. My dad was Corporal Berkowitz. He was in World War II, and I am overwhelmed by his memories and memories of him and what I knew about him as a soldier. He returned from war a number of years overseas, silent. He would regularly go up to the attic where he had put behind a wall the Nazi flag that he was able to bring back, a couple of revolvers, and other souvenirs, because at that time soldiers were able to take those things home. He did not talk about his service. The only time he talked about it was when somebody would say, "Milton, I really like your haircut." Of course, he was bald, and he said, "Well, that's because I had all those cannonballs going over my head." That was it. I honor his presence and his memory by becoming a nurse and then joining the Army Nurse Corps, because it was the Army medics that had saved his life, and his Purple Hearts are proudly displayed right next to me in our home. Today, I honor him by advocating for my son-in-law. How about that? My son-in-law, the doctor. Colonel retired Sean Mulvaney was first a Navy SEAL. Then he went to USAWC. He went to the military medical school. Then I got him in green polyester. How about that? He had a wonderful career in the Army, in Army medicine, mostly in special operations. And you may have heard about him. He has been very instrumental in the research that helped to push the use of the stellate ganglion block in the treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder. Doesn't cure it, but it does help with the symptoms so that service members can then get the benefit of all those other types of therapies. I'm very proud to say that his work, his research has been just now published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Any docs in the audience? Okay. You know that that's a very special thing. And he's been on television, and his work continues. But I always think of Sean and advocate for him because of learning about what it's like to come back from service overseas and in war. I did my clinical work at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, as part of my nurse midwifery training at Meharry Medical College. So we did our clinical work there, and that's how I learned about the Army. And I was one of those shake and bake majors, came in and knew my clinical work, had all my schooling, but I needed to learn the Army really fast. I'll give you an example. One of the biggest lessons I learned from a leadership perspective was really getting to understand the soldiers. And I was frustrated because I was really working very hard, leading the nurse midwifery service and having lots of babies, but couldn't understand why those young soldiers were not being more supportive to their wives, who really needed their support in labor. And I said, well, I'm missing something. I'm not understanding So I better get really into the boots of these soldiers and understand better what they are living from a day-to-day perspective. So I begged to go to air assault school. I figured that would be a quick way to learn everything. I was the first female Army nurse to graduate at 36 from air assault school. So from that time, we couldn't wear our uniforms. We were wearing the white uniforms. You couldn't wear those wings. And boy, that was the proudest thing I ever had. But I put my wing underneath the collar. And when the young soldiers would come in and they'd sit down as they were getting ready, getting closer to delivery time, I was trying to get them to attend prepared childbirth classes. Anybody here, father, mother? Okay, all right. You know the drill. And but I was able to say, okay, I see you're wearing wings. I flip my collar, and they just go, wow, she's got those wings. I said, well, you remember how hard that school was? And they said, yeah. Do you remember what got you through it? Oh, yeah, I got my buddies. They helped me out. I said, see your wife? Having a baby is kind of like 3 times harder than air assault school. Get it? They got it. So it was just kind of magical that by identifying with what their world was like, really helped me in the years to come. That's one of those little vignettes. Thank you very much for putting up with me. Through all the years that I was moving around in different levels of increased responsibility, I quickly learned that it was not my inbox that my nurses cared about. They really didn't care about that. They didn't want to know about that, but they wanted to know that I cared about them. I was aware of what they were doing, and my presence was very important. That's one of those lessons of leadership by Lincoln, walk amongst your troops. And so that became a very important part of that. And it was so great to watch all those young nurses grow up to be incredibly important leaders in the Army Medical Department. All of those years, I wound up going to getting my Army schooling, all in distance learning, because you could never get enough time away to go here and blah, blah, blah. But I always looked at those senior leaders who had gone to the Army War College and just thought, well, okay, someday I'm going to get to go someplace. And I did, every 2 weeks, to summer camp, right here at Carlisle, doing the distance learning portion of the Army War College. It was incredible. Incredible experience, really helping me to fine-tune a strategic way of looking at life and all of those great lessons. So I will never forget that at all. I do want to say that the next most incredible thing to happen was when I was selected after serving 4 years as the chief nurse at Walter Reed Army Medical Center and seeing all the people that you had just showed on here. I remember seeing so many of them coming through the halls at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. Had a very, very special relationship with so many of them. Then I got selected to be the commander of the hospital at Fort Leonard Wood. That's where I was conceived. Anybody been to Fort Leonard Wood, all the engineers? Okay. You know Rolla? That's where I was conceived. So it was like coming home. I learned that caring as the hospital commander, the medic commander, was absolutely, it was a wonderful community-based situation, because it wasn't just taking care of the folks that came in as patients to the hospital, but it was really caring for that whole community. And that was a wonderful experience. And then I retired. It couldn't have been any better. I became a veteran. And I realized that, you know what, life goes on. It is so important to not only keep caring, because my hands may not be on patients, but I know I can take care of them in a different way. And so MOA answered that call for me and gave me that wonderful opportunity. And I will never forget that because I keep living it. So now, while I advocated for patients, I advocate for you. I ask you to join me in advocating, because we're trying to make sure that you're able to maintain all of your benefits and all the things that you need for you and your family. We want to make sure that we are keeping up the capabilities of the medical healthcare system. That's really important. We advocate very strongly for surviving spouses. We're very concerned about the conditions of housing in the military, and you've all been hearing about that, but we advocate very strongly for that. We're just engaged in all things that support you of all services, all ranks, and it is an honor to be recognized today, and I'm delighted that the boss is sitting there and his wife, Laura. Thank you very much.